Hello everybody, Wildweiler here, and I want to talk to you about the new game, Last Train Home. Note the absence of the word "the" in the title. This is going to probably be the only time I get this correct, but I have worked very hard in the script to not call it The Last Train Home. The title is simply Last Train Home. Last Train Home is a real-time survival strategy game. What does this mean? Well, survival games are things like Resident Evil and Minecraft, where you carefully manage your resources in order to survive. Real-time games are games that don't have set turns. Everything happens at once, still like Resident Evil and Minecraft, but also like StarCraft, Warcraft, and probably any game that has the word craft in it at this point. This is all to say, Last Train Home is a game where you have to carefully manage resources as events unfold in order to survive. You need to do so in a way that requires both forward thinking and strategy, since the game and all of your decisions build on everything that come before. So each decision affects the next. If you do something now, you might not have resources to do something else later, but the reward might be bigger now. These are the choices you have to consider. The game tells the fictional story of a group of Czechoslovakian soldiers trying to get home in the aftermath of World War I. These soldiers have been fighting in Russia, and now that civil war has broken out between the Red and White armies, the western border is closed. This means the only way home is for them to commandeer a train and head east. And I mean far east. I mean all the way to Vladivostok, which according to Byrne Thomas and Daniel McCrowan's Trans-Siberian Handbook, they're going to travel over 5,700 miles of rail if we use sort of the modern rail. It was probably different more than 100 years ago. Your soldiers are outmanned and outgunned for this journey. Winter is coming, and you do not have provisions to make it the whole way, which means you are going to have to explore and scrounge just to survive. Last Train Home wants you to feel a sense of desperate survival and connect emotionally with its characters. It does this through beautiful cutscenes that are a mix of a painterly style, pen drawings, and even some live action recreation with narration over it. It's very beautiful. It's very visually stunning. The roster of unique characters is even represented in the artwork, and this makes everybody really easy to relate to. In some ways, it's like the early Command and Conquer games with the full motion video cutscenes, because this game sort of has things similar to that, only there's no acting. They're just sort of in the background as a narration occurs. It's beautiful. It's an art direction that is absolutely beautiful. As the title suggests, the survivors are on the last train. There have been trains that have gone along ahead of you, but this is the final train. The Red Army is closing in, and resources are scarce. The train is in danger of breaking down, and more than anything, the game stresses you have to keep the train running. Early on, a character makes it clear that the choice between food and fuel is simple. You must keep the train going. You must get fuel. Because if the train stops, you die in the middle of Siberia. And that's bad. And this creates an emotional powder keg and sets the stage for some very, very engaging gameplay. A while ago, I wrote an entry on my blog about the game Frostpunk. In that article, I talked about my time as captain of New London and how devastating it was when I failed to save the last city on Earth. Last Train Home ratchets up the emotional stakes for me by replacing a city and its great generator with a train. So if I fail, not only do a bunch of people die, but I'll have destroyed a perfectly good train in the process. Yay! Players of Frostpunk will find Last Train Home to be familiar. Last Train Home borrows a bunch of mechanic and design choices, ranging from resources like fuel, food, water, and metal, as well as constant location discovery and scouting teams needing to be used to bring resources back to the train. The event system and sound design is also incredibly similar. Honestly, maybe these are a bit too similar. Somehow, in all of this though, Last Train Home manages to improve on the formula Frostpunk laid out. Last Train Home even fixes problems I had with Frostpunk, namely waiting. There were a number of times while I played Frostpunk where I would just hit the fast forward button because my sort of engine was working, but I needed something to happen. Last Train Home is the opposite. I find myself using the pause button more than anything to carefully think about my next choice. And that is where the tension of the game builds, and it's absolutely beautiful. Similar to Frostpunk, the people on your train have roles based on their classification, which means that they can only perform certain tasks based on their training. Last Train Home adds to this formula by drilling down to the individual level. You're not managing a city. I have about 30 unique characters on my train. All of them have names, all of them have different combinations of roles, and it's truly amazing. Frostpunk only has workers and engineers, and depending on which type of worker they are, which type of person they are, I should say, they can be assigned different jobs. Last Train Home adds doctors and cooks and train engineers and workers, as well as all of these people have a combat role because they are also soldiers, meaning that they're riflemen, machine gunners, grenadiers, medics, and scouts. And all of this results in combinations where each character is different, and these characters have attributes and they weigh in on the story. It's amazing. It really personalizes what's going on because you start getting used to seeing faces. You know that, oh, I need this person to stay on the train because they're actually my best doctor. They're also my best machine gunner, but they're my best doctor, so I need them to stay safe in the event somebody gets hurt. And you start to recognize names and people and how, oh, I maybe don't want to send this person to deal with this problem because they're a little hot-headed, and that tends to mean things go bad for them. It's really cool to see emotional stakes brought to new heights because the game decides to focus in on individuals, as where Frostpunk raised its emotional stakes by showing you all the people that would be negatively impacted by your decision. This game's like, no, this decision is going to hurt 5 people, but it's going to hurt you a lot. This brings me to the most distinguishing feature of Last Train Home compared to Frostpunk, and that is combat. The combat in Last Train Home is like all the best parts of Company of Heroes without being bogged down by needing to have the exact correct rock, paper, scissors unit composition that you need to take out tanks or mines or whatever. Perhaps the coolest feature in combat that I didn't even think was cool when I first started, but has since really sold me on the whole thing, is ammo. When you deploy a squad, they only have the ammo and grenades and medkits and stuff that they brought with them, which means they, come out of your armory. So you have to be careful on how you're deploying people because you could very well run out of ammo. But because these people can run out of ammo in the field, it changes your playstyle. It doesn't behoove you to attack fortified positions because that will burn a ton of ammo. Yet you can still do it, which means that the game solves what I like to call the Hitman problem, which is to say the game wants you to play stealthy, but they keep giving you machine guns and shotguns. This game wants you to play stealthy, and it gives you a limited amount of ammo, so that way, if there's a situation where you think it's less risky to just attack, you can. But you can't approach every problem that way, and that's what's great about it. It forces you to manage your resources on the train and on the battlefield, and it is brilliant. I absolutely love it. The combat can be a little janky at times, which is to say you really have to remember a couple of things. Like, if an enemy is in a fortified position, you're probably going to need to do a bayonet charge, because otherwise you will waste a ton of ammo. And sometimes you just forget that because the game only teaches you that once, and maybe it could reiterate that 1 or 2 times during the tutorial just to really let it sink in. I felt like I wasted a lot of ammo early game before I learned this, but then again, I learned. And maybe that's the point. I kept getting myself in situations where I had low ammo, and then was like, oh, I need to engage this game differently. So, in that regard, it's very cool. I cannot overstate enough how awesome this is. The last mission I played, I remember counting bullets. Like, I was like, oh, my snipers have used 6 bullets, which honestly isn't a lot, but because the 3 missions before that I had used more bullets than I had recovered, I was getting quite worried that I was running out of rifle rounds for all my riflemen and my snipers and my grenadiers, which all use the same ammo type. Rifle ammo is the most important ammo far and away, and I was so worried I was going to run out. It was so tense, and I absolutely loved it. Last Train Home is a long and thoughtful game with sudden, heart-pounding moments of tense warfare. As far as train games go, it does a pretty good job of treating the train as it should be, which is to say, as a vehicle to move characters where they need to go. Because we build trains for people, and that's what this game's like. So is it about a train? Yes. But it's also about the people on that train and their journey. I'm about halfway through, and I already know I'm going to have to play the game again. There's a branching narrative thing going on that I want to experience all the options of, and I'm very excited to get back into it. If you liked Frostpunk, if you liked even Company of Heroes, give it a try. If you like tactical games like XCOM and you feel bogged down by the turn-based gameplay, give Last Train Home a try. It's fun. In short, on my scale, I give Last Train Home an excellent 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next station. Bye.